I'm going to explain to you what you're going to do for your contour map project. You can always refer back to this video if you have any questions. But your first stop should always be to look back at your rubric or checklist to make sure you've included everything you need and to remind yourself of all the different requirements. This can be found on the back page of your contour map packet. In class, you've already learned quite a bit about how to read contour maps and the basic rules. But now you're going to take it one step further and create your own and use what you learned at the beginning of the year and add dog's tails to your map, which you should know are the different parts of a map. What do you need? 2 cans of the same color of Play-Doh. Some fishing line. This will be used to cut through your Play-Doh. I'm using dental floss because at the moment that's all I have, but it will have the same effect. A piece of white construction paper. This will be used to create your contour map. And a pencil. Eventually you'll need some crayons or colored pencils or markers to make your map a little bit more interesting, adding titles or pictures when you create the additional features on your map. What you're going to do is you're going to combine your 2 cans of Play-Doh, and this is just so that you have more to work with. Then you're going to form it into some kind of a mountain. The main rule here is to make sure that the widest part of your mountain is at its base and it gradually gets narrower. That doesn't mean the peak has to be in the very center, but if you have something that hangs over, you'll run into some major problems. So again, just make sure the base is the widest. As you can see, I'm finished with my mountain, and my peak is a little bit over on the right side of the whole structure. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark where the highest point is, or the summit, the peak, and then I'm going to just take my pencil and draw a line all the way down one of the sides. What's going to happen next is I'm going to cut the mountain apart, and so if I need to put it back together, this line will help me do just that. If this was my mountain, you can see where I'm going to make cuts with my fishing line. So first I'm going to make a cut halfway down, and I'm going to split the difference and make one 1/4 of the way from the top and the half, and halfway between the middle and the bottom. This will then create 4 separate pieces that I'll eventually trace to make my contour map. So here I have my fishing line. I'm going to twirl around my fingers so I have a good grip. I'm going to go about halfway, pull it towards me. I'm going to go halfway between that halfway point and the top. Whoops, the top of the mountain fell off. But I have that line to line it back up. And then halfway between the bottom and the middle. Try to pull it straight towards you, otherwise you're going to be getting inaccurate cuts. Now that we've made our cuts, we're ready to create the map itself. So I'm going to use my pencil and trace around the base of it. Then carefully peel off that bottom layer and set it down in the exact same spot, and then trace the next layer. I think you can already start to see those lines of spaghetti. Notice over here the lines get closer because it was actually steeper. I'm going to once again peel it off, set it down right in that space. Maybe move it in just a bit so I don't run into the other line. And then finish it off. Once I'm done tracing that last layer, I'm going to mark where the summit or the peak is, which you're going to use to create your index later. So mine was right about there. Now I'm going to take my black marker, or you're going to take your pencil, and you're going to just define those rings a little bit better. You'll do that same process for all 3 mountains, but not all the mountains need to look exactly the same. Your next step is to add all the different parts of the map, which will help explain your map better. Here you will really want to take a close look at your checklist. This will help explain the different parts if you forgot. This is where you can be creative, have a theme, make it colorful and interesting for when you create questions later. Remember that your index should contain a list of locations followed by their grid location, whereas your legend explains the different symbols and coloring on your map. Now that your map is complete, you can create 3 questions that need to be answered by your map and put the 3 answers on the back of the note card. The final step is the contour tour. You guys will be going around and looking at each other's maps and answering each other's questions, which makes it really important that your questions make sense and again can be answered by your maps. Have fun!